Hey guys, welcome back to the main phase. So I'm bringing you another deck profile. But first, two things. Firstly, if I'm streaming right now to celebrate 50 subscribers, uh, and if you're watching this when it came out, I'll still be live. So feel free to drop by at the Twitch link in the description. Say hi. We're trying to get the required amount of followers to get affiliate, which I'm pretty sure we're like 20 followers away, so feel free to drop a follow. And secondly, I do say we're at nearly 50 subscribers, but it turns out that only 2.7% of my viewers are subscribed. So I know you see this a lot on YouTube, but it really does help. If you like this content, then feel free to subscribe. And without further ado, let's get into the deck profile. Okay, so the deck that I'm showing off today is another NR only deck. It's Burning Abyss. So this deck's really cool. It's just like a sort of value engine deck where all the monsters trigger when they are sent to the graveyard, and you can go into a lot of powerful rank 3s or the powerful level 6 synchro. So without further ado, let's get into the card by card. So we've got free Seer. Seer's the best Burning Abyss that's legal. If it's sent to the graveyard, you can target a Burning Abyss monster in your graveyard and special summon it other than himself. This is really good. You can send him off Fiend Griefing, which is a very good card in this deck, but you can also summon him off a Rescue Ferret, then detach to revive summon. It's just a very strong card overall. Free Rubic. Rubic's also very good. It's the only deck's tuner. I mean, it's the deck's only tuner, and it can only be used as synchro material for Virgil. But his he's got quite a sizable defense stat, and he's everything's searchable in the stack by a bunch of things. So it's not like, well, not essentially searchable, but grabbable from the deck. So the fact that he's your only tuner doesn't really come up that much. To Alich. Alich is negation. There's a bunch of monsters that have a removal or interruption type effect when they're sent to the graveyard, and these are used with Fiend Griefing. So, for example, you can send Alich to the graveyard with Fiend Griefing to shuffle an opponent's monster in the graveyard into the deck, but also get to negate a face-up monster on the field's effects. To Calcab, this returns a set spell trap from the field to the hand. This is really good in the end phase, like sort of like an MST, where you can flip Fiend Griefing, shuffle something into the deck, then use this to set one of the set spell traps back into the hand. Free Libic, this is another extender, sort of like Seer, but for the hand instead. And you can also summon Fiend monsters, but that doesn't come up that much. It's just generally a pretty good card, and you can also use it with Fiend Griefing, of course. To Cagna, this lets you send a Burning Abyss spell trap from the deck to graveyard. There isn't that much you want to send with it, but we run two of it, so you can send you one copy of Good and Evil in the Burning Abyss, which then can search any Burning Abyss card. Notably the traps. Then we got free Fiendish Rhino Warrior. This is probably the best generic monster for the deck. It protects your Fiend monsters from being destroyed by battle card effects, and that's important because all the Burning Abyss have the effect where if you control a monster that isn't a Burning Abyss monster, they destroy themselves. But this prevents that. And also, what this does is that if it's sent to the graveyard, you can mill any Fiend from your deck, which then means you can trigger their effects. Then we've got we've got we've got three Draghig. This is like your other searcher. When it's into the graveyard, you can choose a Burning Abyss card in your deck and put it on top. While it's not as good as like your other searching type effects, like the Fiendish Rhino Warrior milling or the Rescue Ferret summoning straight from the deck, it's still pretty good, and it's still one of your forms of consistency that you're able to use. And then lastly, we've got two Barbar. This lets you banish 3 Burning Abyss cards from your graveyard, which includes the back row, which you can't really recycle anyway, to inflict 300 damage to your opponent free. So this can be useful for finishing off your opponents, or in tournaments, it can be used to end games when they're in time. In general, it's just a decent card. Free Rescue Ferret. This is really good. You can shuffle this card you control into the deck. Then you can summon 2 Burning Abyss monsters, which can be even Rubic, to the zones that cross sheet points to, which then means that you can make, say, Rubic, and or you can make like any Xyz monster, or even a Berserker technically. Yeah, this card's really good. One Good and Evil. Again, this card's on field effect is basically just a brick, but you can sort of discard it for stuff like I don't even know what you can discard it for, like Paleozoic Dinomischus. but it's grave effect, which means that during the main phase, except the turn it's sent, you can banish it from your graveyard, send a Burning Abyss from your hand to the graveyard to add any Burning Abyss card from your deck to your hand. 3 MST, it's just a good card. 2 Traveler in the Burning Abyss. This is like a soul charge, but a bit more awkward. If you've got a good setup already with like a Fiendish Rhino Warrior, this card could just plus you like ridiculous amount, so it's worth running. But if you don't have certain setups, it can be a bit of dud. 3 Firelake, this is amazing. You send 2 Burning Abyss monsters you control to the graveyard, and they all special summon themselves from your hands. That's pretty easy. To destroy up to 3 cards on the field. This card's busted. And you can search it with the Draghig or the Good and Evil, which is just like, it's so good. 3 Fiend Griefing. This is another way to enable all your Burning Abyss monsters on your opponent's turn, which is really good. And also it lets you interrupt with your opponent's graveyard, which with some of the best decks, at least pre-Konami ban list, like Megalith and Metal Foes, this card can really interrupt their plays. Lastly, we've got 3 Paleozoic Dinomischus. This is just another generic removal card. It also triggers the Burning Abyss by discarding them. And technically it can summon itself to be used as light link material. So that's the main deck. Let's go on to the extra deck. It's quite simple because most of it's just generic good stuff. 3 Virgil. This card's so good. It basically, you can discard a Burning Abyss card, which could even be like a spell or trap if you're not using it. Like, to shuffle any card your opponent controls or in their graveyard into the deck. This is just ridiculous removal. And even if they manage to get rid of it, you still get to draw a card to like recoup the value. You can only control one of him, which is a bit unfortunate, but like, who cares? It's broken. 1 Merzerim, 1 Mellow Melody, and 1 Humming. This is sort of like a little Djinn engine where they all have effects that support each other, but there's not that much, you know. You need multiple of them to like do stuff, so you've really got to have the correct setup. Then we've got Fortune Tune. This is just a stall card in certain situations. We've got 2 Grand Pulse. This is back row removal. 2 DDD Stone King Darius. This can deal with monsters that have high attack that you can't otherwise deal with. And it also lets you inflict burn damage to your opponent, which can come up in time. 1 Gel Jar. This is just a worse Darius. Well, it's kind of better, kind of worse. But the more important thing about it is that you can target 1 monster you control and it can't be destroyed by battle, which then means that then you can trigger the second effect. But it's like, you have to have setup, which is meh, it's okay. 2 Cross Sheep. This is really important for the Rescue Ferret because it means that you have 2 zones to some of the monsters too. But it's also just like slightly generic. I mean, it's also like slightly generically good. You can make all your monsters you control permanently gain 700 attack when you synchro summon Virgil, which means that it'd be 3200, which is sizable. And then 1 Draco Berserker as the last monster. It's just a good beat stick. So yeah, that's the deck, guys. Again, we are live, so feel free to drop by. Again, it's like I've hit 50 subscribers. Thanks all so much for the support. So yeah, bye.